Yo, Tube, what is good? We have some long-awaited tuning changes for this season. So I just thought I'd go over them real quick to give you guys my initial thoughts on them. Mainly going to be like mage-related stuff because that's what people are going to have questions about for me. So let's first get into it. As you can see, there's the typical like PvE side of tuning and then PvP side of tuning. PvE, there's pretty much nothing worth noting for Mage at least. Stamina, they're just increasing stamina by 5% for everybody, so we have more health, so there's less one-shots. For Mage, Harmony now increases the damage of Arcane Barrage by 2 per stack, in PvP was 5. This was the buff that whenever you missiled, you got a stacking barrage modifier, so they're nerfing this by a substantial amount. To me, this talent seems like it's going to be pretty dead now, so that's kind of just like +1 talent point for us in a way. Intuition now increases the damage of Arcane Barrage by 20%, was 50, so that's a fat nerf. This was to be expected. I had thought Blizzard would go about nerfing Arcane in this way by nerfing like the non-flux barrage modifiers, which to me is like, I kind of wish they just would have removed Nether Flux in a way, or just like nerfed the spell more to a point where it's like completely pointless to take. My sort of problem with these is that we feel a little bit more pigeonholed into playing Flux now, because through nerfing Arcane in this way, they're also nerfing Arcane's playstyle without Flux, right? So if you just played no Flux and you just played regular Magi, it's now also weaker as well. So I think their goal here was to just keep us playing Flux, which is fine. You know, some people enjoy the Flux playstyle. That's cool, whatever. You know, all personal bias out of the way. It's just going to be no more like 100-0 deaths. I think Arcane will still be very strong though. This one I'm actually kind of happy to see because it means you no longer have to play around the intuition proc. It's just like another modifier, which is obviously very good to have. But at 50%, you were very much like trying to get that proc and play completely around it, which was not very fun in my opinion. Made Arcane feel very robotic and made it feel like you did literally nothing outside of this proc. Improved Touch of the Magi now causes Nether Flux to increase the damage of your next spell by an additional 10, was 25. So this is the Flux nerf, but again, they nerfed like not Flux itself, they nerfed Imp Touch of the Magi, which also nerfs normal Magi. So this is a tiny Flux nerf here. Actually, yeah. Okay. All damage increased by 6%, so this is a little bit of a compensation buff, which is why I think Arcane will feel better now. I'm surprised we even got a compensation buff, to be honest. So I think Arcane is going to be strong. It's not going to be one-shotty. It's going to play pretty similar. However, I think we will change the build, and I think it's going to feel pretty good still. That being said, Sun Fury did get substantial nerfs. They made so you would do 6 barrages or blasts and you would get a Spellfire Sphere, and then through generating a Spellfire Sphere you would get Burden of Power, which was a 20% blast and barrage modifier. You would consume that and you would get Glorious, and now Glorious is only 10%, was 20, so it was the same modifier as Burden before. Now it's 10% less. But the meteorites look untouched for that. So the meteorites from the Phoenix are nerfed by 38, the G-Pi from the Phoenix is nerfed by 33, and the Surge is nerfed by 33 from the Phoenix as well. So they did nerf the Phoenix. The Phoenix was a lot of damage, especially if you had 5 Spellfire Spheres. It would cast 5 exceptional spells, and it would do a crazy amount of damage. I do think that Sun Fury will probably still be the tree that you play, because the Spell Slinger tree was largely around modifying Harmony, you know, like, or sorry, the Spellfire, let me restart. The Spell Slinger tree was, the tier set around it was revolved around modifying Harmony, which is severely nerfed now. So to me, it feels like you won't play Slinger because the tier set is worse now on it, and the tier set on Sun Fury is like unmodified basically. So we'll have to see what happens with Arcane. That's kind of my initial thoughts. That's where I'm at. There's gonna be a new build. You know, I think we'll not be playing Harmony. It's gonna take a lot of like trial and error to find the build. So we'll have to see what happens with Arcane. However, I think it's going to be very strong still, just not in a way that it is now, where, you know, you're hitting 18 million barrages and completely just 100 to zeroing somebody. Which, that's a good thing, guys, okay? That's a good thing. We don't want the ability in the game to 100 to 0 someone. That's, you know, if arcane mages can do it, right? Then it's, you know, more okay the fact that like survival hunters or marksmanship hunters are doing it or something like that, you know? So it's like, you know how annoyed you are when you get 100 0'd by a marksman hunter or like a survival hunter? Like that kind of thing should not be in the game, including for us. So hopefully this like makes the playstyle of Arcane more refreshing. I always thought it felt very robotic in this season because of just how many, it's like a weak aura spec, you know? This one I'm super giga ultra excited for. Glacial Spike Frost for me is like the most fun version of Frost. The way I see Frost Mage is it kind of alternates through 3 different variations. So sometimes Frost Mage is a Frostbolt class. That's what we have now. We play the Frostfire tree, and you spam Frostfire bolts on your veins as your maximum burst. Of course, you have like your Comet Storm Meteor on top of that, but right now Frost Mage is a Frostbolt spam class. Sometimes it's an Ice Lance spamming class when Ice Lance modifiers are high, or when they tune Ice Lance. And sometimes what I call it is like it's the accessory build, you know, like the main damaging spells for Frost are like the fun toys that you get, like Frost Bomb, Ray of Frost, or like Glacial Spike. Those are the kind of tunings, or like that's the playstyle for Frost that I personally enjoy the most, is the one where you have like, you know, the Frost Bomb, the Ray, the Glacial, those are what's doing like Giga Dam, and then Ice Lance is like your sustain. What I think we have incoming with this Glacial Spike 40% buff, along with the Blanket 5% buff, is going to be like a hybrid almost. I think it's going to be, you know, you're still going to probably play Frostfire, and then you're just going to have like instant Frostfire bolts and instant Ice Lances, and then like you just Frostfire bolt spam until you get a Glacial. It's kind of like gonna be a hybrid between the two, which I think is gonna be like the first time we've ever seen that, at least in a long time. So I think Frost has some very exciting changes coming to it, and I'm very, very stoked to see a Glacial Spike buff of all things. I think it would have been a little bit stale, a little bit repetitive if we saw like, you know, Frostfire bolt damage increase, Comet Storm damage increase. It's like, you know, we've been doing that for a long time now. So this hopefully like will spice up the Frost playstyle. I think Glacial Spike right now doesn't really hit that hard. I mean, it's like okay. I really do hope 40% is a big enough number to make it like actually blast in PvP. I do have high hopes. I think 40% buffing by something by 40% is pretty good, especially when that spell can already hit for like 3 million. I think most of the times right now it hits like 2 to 3 in PvP. I think if you like crit, you can get like a little bit bigger. So I mean, 40% on that is you know, it's gonna hopefully matter, right? So I think that's very exciting to see from me. And that's about it. I mean, Fistweaver got nerfed, you know, like the OP spell for Ret got nerfed. I'm not sure if it'll be enough. Disc got buffed, we'll see. This is, I don't even know. Arm's a little bit of a buff to catch it up with Fury. You know, Ellie Shaman's getting buffed is, you know, interesting. And then, you know, the flanking one shot for survival has been nerfed. Some pres damage nerfs. Some Boomy nerfs, which is huge. I think Boomy is like one of the most sleeper broken classes right now. Feral buffs, you know, we haven't really been seeing too many ferals. Frosty K nerfs. Frosty Ks are pretty strong. And then a couple of these do affect PvP as well, so pretty much anything that doesn't have this label. So like Holy Priest Halo, so maybe like that is something, probably not. And then we have like BM. There's some Dark Ranger changes. I'm not really sure like what these necessarily do. but you know, maybe, I don't know, who knows. Is that a dev buff? Interesting. And then let's see, Aug buffs, and then boomy damage does not affect PvP. Yeah, nothing affects PvP there, and then that's about it. So anyways, that's all I have. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know if you have any additional questions, or lay your guys' thoughts out on the mage buffs, the mage nerfs, and let me know what you think. Peace out, and looking forward to Tuesday. That's all I can say.